Hello there. It is another Crunch webinar, this time, although not this time, but continued e-commerce masters. And we have the lovely Shelley again.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. It's that month has gone fast since we did the last one, isn't it?
It has. It has. Yeah, most certainly. At least that this time we're in the sunshine, so that's all good.
Yes, exactly. Luckily, a bit cooler today. If we'd been doing it yesterday, I would have been absolutely sweltering in this room. I've got the lights and the sound blankets and everything, and it really picks up a temperature. But luckily, it's a bit cooler today. So yeah, right, everybody. This is another one of these really, really useful e-commerce masters webinars. And we're not going off into massive tangents and complexities. This is true basics, but we find the true basics are the ones that are most useful. Yes, we will be going off into forecasting and modeling and selling your e-commerce business and how all that happens, all the complexities, but the bookkeeping, which this webinar is all about, is so important. And it is the make or break of so many businesses. If you don't get this right, if you don't keep this consistent, you can run into all manner of troubles. So we, of course, have Shelley, who's been doing her e-commerce business for many, many years with loads and loads of experience to guide us through all the pitfalls and what you need to do. So yeah, fundamentally useful. Yes, it is basic, but there's some tips and hints in here that will make all the difference to you being successful and not running aground. And there's nothing worse than that horrible feeling when the business is going all over the place. You haven't got a clue what's going on. And worse still, you don't know what your finances are doing at all. Should I buy more stock? Can I buy more stock? Where is the money coming from? So that's what we're going to go into. We've introduced both Shelley and myself. Well, we haven't quite fully introduced. We'll probably give it a little background or rendition on who we are if you haven't seen it before. We have the other two masterclass webinars available currently on YouTube, and we're going to put them back into the Crunch website so you can find them. If you haven't watched them, go and watch them. The first one talks about Shelley's fantastic story, of which we hear a little bit of an insight in the introductions. And the last one was about the importance of the accounting setup, another super basic one that so many businesses don't quite get right. And off they go, selling all their items on eBay and Amazon, and then wonder what the hell is going on 9 or 12 months in. So here we go, introduction. So a little bit about me. My name's Darren Fell, founder of Crunch. Started in 2007 building the system. It is another traditional accountancy firm where we have lots of QuickBooks and Xeros and all of those bits of software in, done in a traditional way. We built all of our own software from the ground up. We have a big engineering team. We have a massive accountancy team as well. We have a big client services team. We have lots of different teams in there. And e-commerce for us, our mainstay was freelancers and contractors, and probably is still in that area, but we were all super keen to go into the e-commerce area, including Shelley, because Shelley's been doing it for a long time, particularly the accountancy team. So a year ago, we branched into the e-commerce area, and it's been fantastically useful. The accountants are loving the complexity of some of the accounts. We have some working into the 2 million area turnover. I think that one's a jogging apparel site. So yeah, that's a teeny weeny bit about me and Crunch. And over to you, Shelley.
Yeah, so thanks, Darren. So I'm Shelley. I've been with Crunch for 5 years. I am part of the marketing team here at Crunch. Alongside that, I also run e-commerce businesses. I have done for the last 18 years. E-commerce is pretty much a passion of mine. It's always been a side hustle, and I just get full enjoyment out of doing it, and it gives me the opportunity to kind of fulfill that side of me, as well as working as part of the marketing team with Crunch as well. So if you haven't seen the first webinar, then there is a link in the slides that we're going to be sharing, but it basically kind of gives you a little bit of my background and how I got into selling products online, and that's like Amazon, FBA, as well as Etsy, eBay as well. So there's lots of different sort of platforms that I sell on. So so you hopefully should find it a little bit of some more information on my travels as a e-commerce seller in the previous webinars.
Yeah, and there's if you watch that one, and do watch it if you haven't watched it. I love the story of when you're selling the sweets, the packets of sweets at school, and yeah, mum and dad's wondering like, why you got so much cash in the house? Where's this all come from? This is worrying. So yeah, you started at a very early age. So I just thought I hadn't put do not disturb on then. But I have, and it takes a couple of seconds to actually kick in. Right, okay, so we're going to obviously the importance of bookkeeping and accounting on e-commerce businesses. We're going into the benefits of the bookkeeping. And again, yeah, it feels kind of basic, but you'll see all the nuances to this and what it will enable you to do. And number 4, why bookkeeping and accounting are important for e-commerce. Kind of the same things, but we're breaking this subject you may think is very, very tiny out into lots of different sub areas, so you can see what happens if you don't do it. And then we've got a Q&A session, so you'll have a whole chat area. Get the questions in, no matter what they are. Get them in, and Luke, who's very kindly running all of the technical part of this live stream, will actually feed the ones through onto the screen so we can answer them. So without any further ado, let's go over. So basics of e-commerce accounting and the key takeaways. Shelley?
Yeah, so basically the e-commerce accounting has so many different elements to it, whether that would be obviously the sales, but also more important is the kind of keeping on top of your finances. So this webinar is really to kind of walk through the importance of bookkeeping for your e-commerce business, learn how to get into good practices, and also the reasons why it's really important, and also some examples of how bookkeeping that is done badly can really affect your e-commerce business. So that's what we're going to be covering today.
Okay, right, let's dive in then. Okay, so we've got bookkeeping, the backbone of financial health for any e-commerce business. We've guided people through that. Right, financial transactions are accurately recorded and organised, finding a clear picture of your business's financial status. So, go on, Shelley, talk a little bit more on that. So, you've got the business up and running. You're starting to sell stuff. You've got monies coming in and out. When should you start getting all this bookkeeping and transactions? Number 1, where should you record it?
Yep.
Guys through the basics of this to get it your business, because this is like a fundamental foundation to the business, isn't it?
It is.
You can go off stuff and buy stuff, but if you don't get this pattern going of how to record it, you're a bit stuffed later on, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. So so, as you said, the kind of buying and selling, you've started your e-commerce business, and especially for e-commerce, it's keeping on top of your cash flow. So if you've got a really popular product that you're selling and it sells out, you need to kind of recoup that money to come back in and get that out again. Now, if you're not keeping on top of your expenses, if you're not keeping on top of the sales that are going out, then you're really not going to know how much money you've got to kind of play around with. And so many people don't realize that bookkeeping is such an important thing for any business. And it's one of those things that a lot of people kind of bury their heads in the sand surrounding, because it's one of those things that is just kind of a bit like of a life admin. It's part of an admin task that no one ever really wants to do, but the importance of doing it is exactly that. It's keeping on top of your kind of financial transactions. So whether that would be if you're kind of starting out, spreadsheets, that's how I used to do it. Excel spreadsheets are still kind of very popular, but that's a good way of keeping track of what's coming in and what's going out. And then as your business grows, there are automated systems that assist with that. So that's one of the key things is knowing your financial health of your business, because if you don't have an idea of what's going out, what's coming in, then it's really difficult to kind of plan and obviously then purchase additional stock for that, especially in our previous webinar where we discussed that some payment platforms take a long time for the money to come through. So it's really important to make sure you're keeping on top of everything that's going in for your business.
Like, yeah, I remember that last session. I didn't realize the payment terms on some of them, which was it Etsy was ludicrous, and it got better, didn't it?
It did, yeah. So Etsy, for example, they had a time where it was 3 months for any payments to come through. So that's huge for any small business. If you've got to continue making the products, but you're not, in theory, bringing any of that income in for at least 3 months, that's going to make a massive impact in your business. So, bookkeeping, it's a really, everything around it is quite boring. Let's be honest, but it is so important to keep on top of everything that's going on with your e-commerce business, especially if it's a side hustle. Because you're probably not going to have the time to kind of focus as much as if it was a full-time role, and therefore finding that time to actually get into good habits is really important.
Yeah, okay. So if we start breaking this out, because a lot of our customers are going to start out as a side hustle. They're working for somebody else. They're building exactly. I mean, you're working in the marketing function, actually for e-commerce and enterprise.
Yeah.
So you've got to start dividing things out. So you ideally need definitely your own bank account for it, because otherwise you'll intermingle it with personal expenses, and you might go and buy more stock and then realize you've got no money for food, especially if that stock was to make something for Etsy, then going to pay you all that time later, 3 months later. Okay, so you started off using spreadsheets and then moved on to Crunch's accounting solution, yeah?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So you're getting all of the your invoices in for the payments coming in. You're getting all your expenses in for all the stock you're purchasing, and it's all going into an accounting system. So they can of course use anything like a Xero or a QuickBooks or a Sage there. Or the there's the spreadsheet starting point. So there's a point where it becomes going to become a lot easier when you've got a proper accounting system, because a spreadsheet will only take you so far. There's a lot of manual effort in that, isn't there?
Yeah, certainly. And your point on the separate bank account is really, really valid, because if you are setting out as a side hustle, what you don't want is to have all your personal transactions and your business transactions going through your statements, because most of the time you're never really going to know what's going in, what's going out, what's business related, what's not. It allows you to keep a complete separate column for your business through your bank account, away from your business, and it allows you to then, if you are, when it comes to kind of reconciling your bank account, so reconciling is basically matching up expenses to your account. It simplifies that. If you've got loads of home transactions going through, you're going to spend hours doing that anyway. So separate bank accounts. Ideal if you're a sole trader, you can set up separate bank accounts for sole trader businesses on most sort of banking platforms. And also when you have a limited company, you do actually have to have legal entities is to have a separate bank account for your limited company. So that's a really good point. Is a separate bank account would be perfect for that.
Okay, cool. And so if anybody's wondering about the banking process, we've looked into it for years and kept asking them for more streamlined processes, and now the banks are where we think they should be. There's all of them out there, from Starling obviously to the high street banks. Some are very, very painful. With one high street bank, we started promoting them, and it was taking a ridiculous 6 weeks to set up a bank account. This is ridiculous. So one that I've recently found is called Cash Plus, and they're about to change their name to Zempler. Nobody would have heard of it, but it's been running for, I think, 15, 20 years, still founder led, very much like Crunch's, with me running the business. still very much the team, the right thinking, not a big corporate, so we're going to take over the world and just we're only interested in making money. So have a look at that if you want it. And if you need the bank account, which you might do, get it away from your personal one, as Shelley says, because otherwise it gets very, very messy. So that's the key point. And the other thing is the start with a spreadsheet. Shelley, what would be good actually is putting your template up on in the articles. So on crunch.co.uk, we have got literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles where we're trying to help with accounting and tax questions and help with running your business. But I think that'd be good if you haven't already, Shelley, put your blank version of your template up. But there's a certain point that you go like, I don't have enough time to run this. So that's the point you go like, I'm going to need to pick an accounting software out there. And then it's the choice as to whether you're going to go down a traditional route or you're going to choose like a Crunch, which is software and service. What you're trying to do is save hours and hours and hours of your time, because it's going to take enough time to actually find your stock and sell the whole thing, isn't it, Shelley? From all of your years of experience.
Yeah, definitely. Time is never on your side, especially if you do it alongside a full-time job like myself. Evenings, weekends are taken up by doing things. It's a labour of love. And I've got an extremely patient partner who allows me to do it as well. And I think I've kind of got them into the bug of finding things to sell as well. But yeah, it's all about finding time-saving solutions to make your life easier. And that's what it is. And this is sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Shelley. The more time you're saving, the more time you can go out there and find
exactly.
spot other trends.
Exactly.
Find other. I mean, if you're doing what do you call it when you go sourcing? You go to car boot sales and find like old Monopoly games and stuff. What's that called? That's called.
So I do. So that's just kind of flipping. So that's used products flipping, and then you do online arbitrage. Is where you go out and buy new products online. New products in the store that you then flip online for profit, and then you also do online arbitrage. So you got all sorts. So yeah, there's loads of different terminologies for it, but yeah, it's still timely.
Okay, yeah, I know. I can completely agree. In fact, I can see your house full of boxes and stuff of all these items that you're having to sell, and then you've got to post them out if you don't have a logistics company set up. So there's the basics. Separate bank accounts, spreadsheets okay to a certain point, and then go and pick the accounting software and then make the decision whether you want a traditional accountant. And an accountant will make a big difference. You can do a lot of it yourself if you're a sole trader. But at a certain point, there's so many little hints and tips and stuff, and what accountants have spent 5+ years learning their trade that should save you a lot of money in tax. So make all those decisions, but you've got some stepping stones there. So now we're on to, we've got the basics over and done with, the financially stable and reliable business model. So Shelley, guide us through this. So this is, of course, we're talking about bookkeeping as the foundation. What are the additional points on this?
So one of the things is as I said, kind of the bookkeeping helps monitor your income and expenses, is what we've spoken about. So taking the time, all of this is to work smarter and not harder. This is one of the things that we want to kind of get over. It's about identifying, let's say, the trends and patterns in your business. So for example, you may have busier quarters, so obviously running up to Christmas, so Q4, that is the busiest time for any seller. And by making sure that you've then got income that is in your bank account for you to then purchase additional stock to take that over, because obviously as soon as it hits Q1, it does tend to sort of drop off, as we know. But it's making sure that you've got that kind of the seeing the patterns in your business, so you can see when your busiest times are and when it's not. Factoring in You know, whether you want to take a bigger investment into more stock, so you're looking into maybe wholesale purchases rather than doing the online arbitrage or the retail arbitrage. So it might be something you want to do. So that's obviously going to be a bigger chunk of your finances as well. So there's loads of things of why it's important to keep on top of everything. And like I said, it also creates the kind of the stability and reliability of your business model, is that you can withstand if you purchase a product, for example, that may have been really high in profit, and then someone may come along, especially on Amazon, there's so much competition that may tank that price, and then in theory it can really hit you, so you might not make profit. That there's always a risk in that as well. So it's making proper business decisions surrounding what's going on with your actual business accounts to then, you know, work out whether you've got the funds there to take some risks, because there are risks involved, and obviously in selling. So, you know, that's why it's so important to kind of create that financial stability, and also knowing your business. That's the things where you know, it's very easy to sell and think, you know, it is amazing when that happens, but there's products that take longer, you know, and you've got to kind of sort of balance that out really.
Yeah. So just thinking back to Crunch, I get management accounts every month. I can see what's going on. And obviously the finance team in Crunch are like bookkeeping daily. There's daily, like, you know, they're checking all of the, you know, the counts, all of the payment methods coming in, so we got an accurate picture on you know, daily, especially on direct debit collection points, because you can see some fails, and then you can go and address those, you know, if they haven't collected or they've been cancelled, what's happened here. So I mean, that's meticulous, but that, you know, that's a big chunky business. But some of the e-commerce businesses that we're seeing, and some of our customers, are like literally adding 500,000 in a year, 1 million on a year. So, you know, you need to get to that practice. So where are you at with when you say meticulous? You on a weekly bookkeeping, so you're going through and reconciling the whole thing?
Definitely. If we can get into good practice by doing a weekly reconcile of your accounts, it makes your life so much easier. You know, as soon as you kind of get into, you know, if you start pushing it out or you start ignoring it, that's where the kind of problems kind of come in. That's something we're going to talk about later in the webinar here. But it is, you know, if you can get into good habits of keeping on top of everything. Now, you know, if you've got, you know, only a couple of invoices to go out, then that's absolutely fine. But what that's doing is keeping that in check. But then as soon as you start getting into, all of a sudden your sales are increasing, there's more and more transactions. You know, some e-commerce businesses can easily have 1,000 transactions a month, and with that's huge. You know, you think what goes alongside that, then you've got expenses to go alongside that as well, so you're probably looking around 3,000 expenses, you know, to kind of reconcile. So it's huge. Okay. So getting into good practice at the very beginning, weekly if you can, because that is the way you want to kind of move forward.
That's exactly the problem, isn't it? That all of us, all we ever want is to see the business start flying, and when it flies, we go, yeah, this is brilliant, this is so good. Oh my god, you know, the account, like, oh, where am I at? I don't know how much cash I've got. So yeah, this is why we're kind of instilling this throughout the webinar, and don't let it get boring. It is just, if it plants a really good seed, that is that habit of getting the bookkeeping in there. Now, if you don't want to spend the time doing this, I think it's certainly worth doing it for the early months as you start picking up a gear or two. But the choices then are, see if you can find a bookkeeper. Finding reliable bookkeepers is hard. We know it because we've got lots of them, and we're very fussy on finding a really good, dependable bookkeeper. But in the days of my first ever startup, Pure 360, I found Jerry, who was was in her 60s then, turned up on the dot every single time. You know, obviously went out and had all her, you know, fags in between bookkeeping and stuff. She was just such a character. But you can go and try, they do exist. The other thing which we're going to be talking about certainly in the next webinar in July is using feeds and connecting to the eBays and the Etsy's and the TikTok shops. And a bit of software that will feed it all in beautifully and get the tax treatment of these feeds correctly, so it goes into Crunch perfectly, or it goes into Xero perfectly, or QuickBooks. So that's the other thing. Or of course, the accountant you've picked, just get the bookkeeping done. Now, if you've got the best of every world, they'll have like an aggregated feed service, like. And we're going to be talking about this. Daniel at Link My Books, he's built that business. He was an Amazon FBA and very successful at that. Do that with a bookkeeper on top, and then you have these meticulous records for you, so you can see exactly where you're at in terms of, like, how much money you've got to spend on stock, exactly where you're at. If you need credit, which leads us perfectly to the next section, doesn't it? Forecasting your business. So guide us through this, Shelley.
So basically, forecasting business. So, like I say, accurate records are so important, as we discussed. There's additional software, as we said. There's Link My Books that helps surrounding that. And then, as you're sort of in growing your business, you're probably wanting to then look at sort of financial forecasting. So this is obviously something around, a higher turnover, and there's sort of different kind of apps and platforms out there. So Bricks is one that we actually partner with here at Crunch. There's also another platform called Skewerify, which plugs into your Amazon FBA account, and with that, it will actually kind of calculate your profits and your inventory from that as well. So there's loads of really useful sort of plugins that are available at the moment. And basically how to sort of look at your good understanding of your financial history, and that's it. So that's if you want to take your level, like I said earlier, if you want to take your business to the next level, whether that be ramping it up to wholesale selling, having a financial forecast of your business is so important, most certainly.
Yeah. So that's probably on the next slide. Why you so. By going through the first stage, the top part of this sort of page we're looking at now is to get a real feeling of your business. You can see the moves and changes. You're bookkeeping it through. You can see how much cash you've got. You can start seeing the successful lines, which is, I think, probably the most enjoyable part. But it's about knowing the business so you can then really make it work and take it to the next level. The forecasting section, Shelley, you're just talking about is when it starts getting, I think, really interesting. So we tend to partner with other founder-led businesses rather than a business with lots of different partnership people changing every 2 minutes. And Bricks is a most powerful forecasting tool. We actually use it for forecasting out our business. So you can plug it into, it's plugged into Crunch, or you can plug it into Xero, depends which one you're using. We're actually using both on the e-commerce side, and you can then spot everything that's going on. So you can see where the cash flow, you can see cash flow holes and go like, oh damn, how am I going to get through that? I know I'm going to need to get some stock, especially if it's in November time. Like you said, Shelley, I mean, one customer, when I was speaking to them, it was coming up to Christmas. He's going like, well, what are you shifting at the moment? He's going, well, currently this one product is doing 400 a day. He's going, what? That's amazing, But you've got to make sure you've got the cash. And he always, Adam was saying, like, he wished he put more money up front in there to be able to buy a lot more stock, because he'd then be much further ahead, even though he's shifting by 500,000 plus every year, and it starts going exponential. But you've got to have a really strong picture of your business to know where these holes are, because you could be missing out on huge opportunities there. The cash flow just goes and you're like, oh right, well, how do I deal with that? So that's our next slide. When we talk about, if you really understand the picture of the business well, you can start looking at finance and getting credits to serve these. I mean, there's plenty of firms that specialize in doing that very thing, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so right onto that thing. So that's probably on the facilitating business sales and stuff like that. But you want to go through tax preparation and compliance to reaffirm that, do you, first?
Yeah, so basically, the tax preparation and compliance, that's also part of the good thing of bookkeeping is that it does keep you in line when it comes to your personal tax return, so your self-assessment. If you're looking to draw any funds from your business, for example, if you're a limited company, by keeping on top of that, you'll know that if if your company's in profit, then that way you are able to then draw dividends. So there's loads of other factors that when it comes to having a good solid bookkeeping system in place. It reduces the risk of errors and penalties, so you're not late filing, for example, on your accounts. And like I said, it's not only sort of the saves you time and money, but also the peace of mind, which is so important over everything. Because if you are, running a business and you've got a family, it's finding that time and the stresses of everyday life that are going on at the moment. By putting in good practices, it really does just kind of eases that pressure, and I think that's so important.
Yeah. So on the Crunch software, if you're got a limited company set up and you're a director, you can obviously pay yourself a lower salary and you can get dividends, which are far more tax efficient. So if you haven't done this yet, when you get the e-commerce business to this point, it's exciting. You feel quite grown up and you're a director of your own business, and you get to this point, and we mapped out the whole thing because thousands and thousands of our clients are doing all day every day, and it will pay yourself the most efficient salary, as I've said. But the main component of that is in dividends. So the system always says, like, are you up to date? Have you reconciled? Because it won't let you make that mistake of like, no, I haven't reconciled for 3 months and I expect to be pulling this amount of dividends out on top of my salary. Well, how do you know you've actually got the money? You don't. So that's and as Shelley, it's a good point actually, like making sure this is the tax prep is in there, because if you've gone over the VAT threshold, do you have enough money in there to pay the VAT bill? You've got to have the bookkeeping absolutely spot on there, because the last thing you want is to be calling around all your mates and going like, can someone like chip me a few £1,000s because I haven't got enough money for my VAT bill? You've got to keep up to date with the bookkeeping of it on it. So, and coming back to that point from the other side is like, if you know your business really, really well, this is coming into credit lines and potentially, ultimately, and this is when it gets really exciting, is could you sell your e-commerce business if you've got it that perfect? And the records, as I know in the businesses I've sold, the records and your financial understanding has to be crystal clear. The records or the record keeping has to be absolutely perfect. The second there's little anomalies in there, then whoever's buying it is like, well, I'm not so sure about this business. So there's another thing. So guide me through all your thoughts on the facilitating business sales.
So exactly that. So keeping on top of your financial records. If you're looking to say sell your business, like you say, it's very similar to very kind of like the Dragon's Den, when they kind of pick holes in someone's business plan and things like that, where it's not clear. Like if you're looking for investment, it's so important that you've got everything there. You've got a good understanding of your own business. There's nothing worse than kind of having a business and don't know what's going on in it. That's where you're obviously risking coming into problems. Creating that kind of financial stability for the potential buyer as well, and to basically demonstrate that you've got a solid business, you've got solid foundations, and it's a successful business, and that way you're able to then demand a higher price for your business when you come to sell it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think that probably falls into another webinar. which will be later on in the series, exactly how you sell it. But Shelley and I were going through examples, and really basic examples. But so you've got 100k turnover e-commerce business, and you've got 10k of profit. What is how is the buyer calculating a purchase price? Well, in e-commerce especially, they're less worried about the revenue going through. It could be a 5 million turnover business and look amazing, but you've got a profit of £10,000, then the eyes would be rolling, and they probably wouldn't be interested. So you start, you can start guessing at 5 times net profits, on a 10k net profit could be a circa 50k business. Now that's not too bad, depending how long that's taken you to build up. But if you start multiplying that out, and you've got pristine records because you've got the bookkeeping right, and you've got great credit lines that you've been running, and all the financial records are absolutely perfect, and maybe you've even got some forecasts to show where it's going, the multiples start getting kind of really interesting. Could it be 6 times? Could it be 7 times? Because maybe you're in a niche that particular company wants to buy into. But the second, on the contrary, the second, they go, well, what happened in this month? What that doesn't make any sense here. What's happened here? And you can't answer those questions, and the records are poor. Then it's not 5 times the net profit. It's 3 times. It's 2 times. Could it be 1 times? Look, we're gonna take we're gonna buy this business on a bit of a wing and a prayer, but we're only going to give you 1 times. Okay, then. That's that. So you can see how easily you can make a business which becomes stress-free. No business is stress-free, but I wish it was. But it can be fun, can't it? You want the time focused on what you love, actually, don't you? Like the buying stuff, the going to those boot sales, finding those prize items, or finding that fantastic supplier, clocking the thing that's got good margin in it, that's flying at the moment.
Exactly that. Exactly.
Okay. So, how much more juicy stuff have we got? I've kind of like been spoiling your page here, haven't I? You're when it all goes wrong, go on then.
Yeah.
I've given a few examples. Go on, give us some of your examples.
Yeah. So I have heard some horror stories. I also experienced it myself in my own e-commerce business. My family run e-commerce business, and we had suppliers who we would just receive payments, and I was kind of looking after the bookkeeping and accounts at the time, wearing lots of hats, I must say, within that business. And I was like, I don't know why we're getting payments. Why? What? It wasn't matching up to anything, and I thought, have we got a system error? And basically, what happened was that they were just so badly organised. They were sending wrong payments to different suppliers, things like this. They were taking months for us to get payment from them, and then in the end, we basically had to then stop giving them any form of credit. And we basically, and until they kind of caught up, and they were really struggling, and that does kind of affect your business relationships as well. If you can't fulfill your financial obligations to your supplier, then that can really have a knock-on effect. And especially if you then need to get additional suppliers, then they sometimes ask who you're working with currently, and they may reach out to them as like a reference. It's like very similar to kind of a job. So keep on the top of that. But also, if that company is paying people wrong or paying more than one invoice at a time, then that's that can be really, really painful to your business. So that's where it's like keeping on top of things is so important. Yeah, it is. And they were a big company as well. They weren't sort of small. So that was worse. The fact they were a large company, and they basically just had their accounting team were just atrocious. Yeah, it was.
That almost, if the CEO, the MD or whatever, the director, like, he's unaware of that going on, and suddenly like checks his bank account, or the bank's calling him to say like you've gone past your overdraft limit, what's going on? I mean, that you can see how it can escalate really fast, because you've got to try and pull yourself out of a very, very difficult situation. So an accounting department put in there to professionally run your accounts is completely making a mistake left, right, and centre. No idea what's going on, paying things multiple times.
Yeah, and also, you know, the other way around, when you're waiting for payments, you know, as well, it's a rolling effect. If you're waiting to get paid, then that's going to affect everything else. So, you know, that's why almost like having a kind of cash flow forecast of knowing what's coming, what's going out. So you've got kind of that dampener there that's to absorb anything that might come up in the business that you just didn't realize, you know, things like that. So, you know, it's gone are the days of kind of simple in out transactions. It becomes a lot more complex the larger you grow. So that's where it's kind of really important. And say, like, you know, looking at, say, the cash flow and the operations growth, you know, you might get to a point where you might want to have to stop bringing on employees to help you, or using a fulfillment center, something like that. You know, you might be using, but if you don't have the cash, then you can't fund that additional support. So that's where it's also really, really important.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, on that note, this comes from years ago when I read the 4-Hour Work Week. You know, Tim Ferriss, and like I read it and went, yeah, likely. But his philosophy is put people in place everywhere. You know, I think, you know, he had a virtual assistant in the Philippines. I think he had two, one for personal, you know, social calendar organizing, and one for the business one. And I think he had someone else, but he had everyone. Yeah, the accountant, the bookkeeper, you know, someone running the website, recording. Yeah, everyone is in place. And that's kind of the thinking you need to get into, don't you? Like, start getting the people in the roles, so you can start running the business, and then, you know, work on building the business rather than in the business. So it's this step-by-step process. And there's going to be a couple of hires that you put in where you're paying yourself less because you've got more money going out, but it's easier, and then it gets to this really nice point where the business is starting to fly at that next level, and you can pay yourself a load more, and people are doing all the core basics for you, and the bookkeeping's done, and the software's all feeding into your accounting solution, and the accountant's doing it and giving you management accounts. All of that works. But yeah, if you don't know what's going on, cash flow, there's nothing that I couldn't imagine anything worse. That's one thing we've never done. Like, I've been running Crunch for, it's almost 15 years now. We haven't been live for that long because we launched in 2009. But that is the one would be the most horrendous. You can't pay your team. That is the number one thing. You've got to do that. So if you go and run the business wrongly, don't have the correct financial treatment, don't do the bookkeeping, and then if you've got this lovely team in place and you can't make payroll, that's just horrendous. So yeah, all of these things, that same message hammering home, the bookkeeping, financial management, good financial management, you get credit lines then because you understand the business, and then ultimately maybe leading to the sale of a business. So yeah, it all makes sense. So almost perfectly on time. We got about 3 minutes. I don't think we've left enough time for this. But Luke, what all these questions have come through? What have we got? Anything good coming in? I think there's right. Okay, here we go. Right, do you want to do that one, Shelley? How do I choose the right bookkeeping system for my business?
Yeah, so I mean, that really is dependent on the size of your business. So, you know, if you've only got one you know, revenue stream, so say you're selling on one marketplace, then, and you're just starting out, then, you know, a Excel spreadsheet is absolutely ideal. And like I said, I will share my spreadsheet that I've used for many years. And then, you know, say again.
Without the numbers.
Obviously without the numbers, yeah, most certainly. And then anything to do, you know, then get an automated system. So, you know, one of the benefits with Crunch is that it's easy to reconcile your bank accounts, links into your bank. So, you know, you can pull that data over And by doing, getting, like I said, good practice is a really good way of doing that. But yeah, it very varies. It really does vary on the size of your business. But look to get an automated system is a it just saves you so much time.
It's dreamlike, isn't it? But
It
then
is.
if anybody's just starting out, I kind of like, as I did, I want them to start with the spreadsheet, maybe your template on the Crunch site, and then feel it, work it through, and then go right now. Now we're going to go and pick a solution there. So yeah, there's loads of software out there, but what we are noticing is the software is getting, I'd say, annoyingly expensive. Xero put up their prices again.
Yeah.
And what we've tried to do as a business is we've spent way in excess of 10 million on our system over the years. It's made to be user friendly rather than for an accountant, and we put the price in one, so you get the whole piece, the annual accounts, the VAT, the payroll, all of it, and the software. And now the software is starting to become more like 500 quid a year, so that's getting expensive. But the choices are yours: a traditional accountant, Xero or QuickBooks or Sage, or a combined service like a Crunch, where it comes all as one. And of course, we've got the whole brand new e-commerce section with our specialist accountants in that division. So yeah, the choices it's a personal preference, but you also got to keep an eye on the cost. And we do see the bookkeeping software out there escalating in price. Cool. Any other questions, Luke, that's in there? Right, Shelley, what record should I keep for bookkeeping purposes? Oh, detail.
Yeah, this is good. So receipts, invoices, so many people kind of, chuck away receipts, and it's really,
For
you
what,
need
though?
it for any expenses. So to use for expenses, people sort of chuck away the receipts. I mean, most places now do email your invoice or receipt to you, which is brilliant. I always opt in for that. Purely because I'm just terrible at emptying my purse and things like that. So, keep on top of, if you can. One of the great things with Crunch is that we've got the where you can take a photo, the Snap app. We can take a photo of the receipt and get it stored away. So if you do lose it, it's not the end of the world, because we've already got a kind of photographic copy of that. So yeah, so definitely, and for any business, you've got to keep them for 6 years. That's HMRC. So keeping your receipts, invoices, supply credit notes, everything like that. Just keep it all. That's what you need.
Okay. So this is where, and we've seen it in interviews over the years. There's an amazing couple of inventors that did think they created animatronic robot outside the Tate Gallery, and they did wacky things like this. And the second they got the Snap app and the Crunch, they collected, they reckon, in over a year, £4,000 worth of expenses that are offsettable against tax that they'd missed before, because they chucked away the taxi receipts or the expense for this cog or this motor or whatever invention they were creating at the time. But there's so many things. So you're going off scouting, use the trip catcher to calculate all the mileage and expense that there. The subsistence payments for the Sani at the service station and the coffee. Don't go and have a 5-course meal and like lavish it up, because if there's an investigation from HMRC, you've got to justify. It's got to be wholly for the business that you're doing, and some people get a bit carried away. So we make sure we keep you on track. But yeah, there's so much to expense that then offsets against the tax, and it really mounts up if you collect them together. But there's a whole massive guide, isn't there, on the expensible items that you can get on the Crunch site?
Yeah, definitely. And
how do they search for that, Shelley?
Say again, sorry.
How do they easily find that one?
So that one, you can go to our website, which is crunch.co.uk. Go up to the knowledge section in our nav bar, and if you drop in there anything with limited company, there'll be an access to our guide. So you'll see it there. So it's a downloadable guide of anything you can claim surrounding limited company expenses. And if you go to the search as well, we've also got one for the sole trader expenses. So they are really, you know, it is really important just to have a read through on those.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, go and do that. I mean, literally right from 2009, I wanted to help, and we've hired writers and then editors on the site, and now have literally hundreds and hundreds of articles to help you, and you don't have to buy Crunch. It's all sitting there. So go and find that expenses article. It's brilliant. And there, thanks, Luke. So there's the article there, but you can go in and search for it. There's masses of stuff you'll find really, really useful in there. So I think we're now running over time. We got all excited with what was a boring subject of bookkeeping. Is it boring anymore? Is it boring anymore? What? Probably not. Probably not.
Probably
you know,
not.
it's like make or break of a business. So
No, I was going to say, if bookkeeping and you know, the thought of it is something that you just dread every single week, every single month, or you know, if you're one of these people that just hide away until it comes to kind of the you know, 6 weeks before your end of year account.
God.
If you do have, you know, there are people out there, same with your tax return, that there is help. And one of the great things is with Crunch is that we do, if you know, a lot of we have existing clients who watch these webinars as well as potential new clients as well. Just for information that we provide, there are always solutions for you. So if you are one of these people that just hate doing it, it's one of those things, you know, if you hate doing your housework, more likely you probably get a cleaner in to do it for you. Think of that as the same as potentially getting in a bookkeeper. So we have bookkeeping add-on services within Crunch. So if that is something that you weren't aware of, or if you want to explore more, then please do not hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I can have a chat with you about you know, anything to do with e-commerce. If you've got any questions about any of the webinars, then come to me and I can obviously, you know, get you in contact with the right people. But say, you know, we're here to help, and that's something that we really do try to do with these webinars. A lot of them are, you know, they're all educational. It's just us trying to make something a bit more exciting and answer a lot of questions that come through to us. So this is why we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there's a whole team there, and they're not there. Consultants, they're there to help you. We don't have to sell. They don't have to sell or find a solution. If we can't, then we will send you in the right direction. So if you're an e-commerce customer, which you probably you know, might be, or have an e-commerce business, then you'll find e-commerce on the top navigation bar of Crunch, and then you can speak to the team there. They're amazingly helpful. We will bring in you know, our e-commerce accountants you know, onto calls and video calls, whatever you need to solve problems. Luke's just brought up the Crunch Challenge, which we're running at the moment. We see a whole marketplace that has got away with murder in terms of you know, ridiculously high prices and really complicated prices. This price for the senior partner, this price for the partner, this price for the senior bookkeeper, this price for an ordinary bookkeeper. It goes on and on and on. So you know, if in your chats with the advisors in Crunch for your e-commerce business, you want to send in all of your invoices from your accountant and all of the software invoices, we will show you that Crunch is 20 to 60% cheaper than your current provider if you have a current setup. And if you haven't got a setup at all, then yeah, you can start basic, like with Shelley's template that she's going to put up there, and then progress to a Crunch solution if you so want. So I think I've done all the slides, haven't I, Luke?
Good.
Yeah. Yes, and we got the knowledge hub, which we've spoken about. I think I've been jumping around. But yeah, I'll call it there. And massive thanks for all of you that have watched this webinar and have watched previous ones. If you're not watching it live, thank you for watching it you know, at a different time. We really appreciate it. And do get in touch and use Crunch as that knowledge hub on our website, and do talk to the team because we're here to help. We've you know, transformed thousands and thousands of businesses over our well, almost, it's 15 years I've been building up Crunch, and we love every customer coming on and helping every single person. So a massive thanks from me, and a massive thanks from Shelley.
Thanks everyone. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you so much. All right, see you all soon. We'll see you next month with Dan Little and his amazing story of his huge Amazon FBA business he built up and why he puts that aggregating software feed, Link My Books software together, and why Crunch uses it. So thanks so much.